Hardcover.
Tyrant,
Yes,
do you like falchions?
I like all cutting blades.
That is an excellent answer. I really like falchions, as all cutting blades as well. Recently done a video comparing...
I saw that. I saw that one.
You
I saw that
video?
one. Yes, I saw that one.
Comparing falchions and machetes. And one of the shocking takeaways in that video is that this machete blade is actually quite authentic in certain aspects to an actual falchion blade with some minor imperfections.
Isn't this a cutlass?
That's a cutlass, you're right. But as I explained in the video, the blade is a perfect example of a falchion blade.
I like cutlasses.
You like cutlasses?
I like cutlasses.
I was tempted to just re-hilt that.
No.
But I do like that I have a cutlass.
We only have one cutlass, so...
But what's great about this, in terms of how it's such a great representation of falchion blade, is how thin it is.
Yes.
It is so
really
thin,
nice.
which is one of the more stereotypical important features of many types of falchion blades. Not all, but many. So I have a project now because I want a proper falchion, a falchion that has the correct elements of the blade, which means thin, it's distal taper, and correct edge profiling. And we have...
Oh, so we're not using this one for it?
We're not using that one.
Oh, okay. All right.
Though that one is beautiful.
It is.
But this is my Kriegsmesser. I love my Kriegsmesser. It's very
There's a
nice.
review on that one, right?
I did a review, you're absolutely right. And it's actually an example of types of falchions and messer blades that you can have that have a much thicker spine. So see, this is like 6 mil at the base, that goes really thin to 2 mil up here. There's actually so much sophistication in blade profiles, especially sword profile design. It's like a type of engineering and science to get it right, because people in the past, they weren't uneducated brutes, right? They wanted their tools to be as functional and effective as possible. And so they knew what worked and what didn't through experimentation and practice, and they ended up engineering some brilliant, like when you pick up a properly designed sword that has a correct blade profile, the weight distribution, like how shocked were you when you picked that up?
Yes, this thing is incredibly light. Oof. I like that.
Isn't it nice?
Yes. Katana's heavier.
Yeah.
We've got other swords in there, like the bastard sword is way heavier than this with a smaller length and whatnot.
Yes.
I much prefer this one. This is a nice sword.
It is beautiful. And
I don't like the crossguard. I've already said it. Don't like
I'll
crossguard.
convert him on that. But what you're noticing there is sophisticated engineering and sword design to achieve those properties.
Yes.
And oddly enough, as I showed in my machete falchion video, this machete blade has a lot of those elements. It has a distal taper, and it's really thin, just like you would want. And so when this one doesn't have a distal taper, and you can feel the weight difference.
Right. Yes, but the weight is far more concentrated on this one as well, down the base.
It's not to say that that is a unreasonably weighted blade. It's not. It's very
still
functional.
a reasonably weighted blade, but this is just far lighter.
Yeah,
this is way
exactly.
lighter.
This is why this is closer to a sword blade than a machete blade. And as a result, Tyrant, I have a project for you.
Yes.
I want you to not only try and re-hilt this with an actual sword hilt, okay, pummel, crossguard. I want to see if you can try and reprofile the bevel a bit as well.
Easy.
That's easy?
That'll be the easiest part, probably.
Beautiful. What will result then?
And this one I get to practice on, right?
Yes, you can practice on that one.
Okay.
That would result in actually, barring certain kind of markings on it, a very historically authentic and really functional falchion blade, better than what I've been able to find so far on the market at a reasonable price.
Now, originally, when we first came up with this idea, you wanted to use this one.
Yes.
You've since changed your mind.
Yes.
Why?
Because I actually like the properties. This one has a distal taper, which makes it more nimble and usable.
Right.
This is such a brilliant machete. It's my favorite machete.
There's also the wild card of the handle. We don't actually know what the tang is on on this one, so it's a bit of a roll of the dice.
Exactly, and the rivets on this indicate this is a full tang. And so that's what this video is. Tyrant is going to try and re-hilt this and reprofile it and make a falchion.
Off to my shop then, I guess?
Good luck, mate.
Alrighty.
I don't know what to do now.
Just before I go, I wanted to let you guys know that videos like this cost money, and with your support, we're able to do these sorts of projects. They're really fun and we love doing them. If you wanted to help support the channel, you can support us on Player, Subscribestar, we have YouTube memberships, and we have Patreon as well. We have exclusive behind the scenes content, dedicated behind the scenes content. So if you wanted to support us, $1 to $5, something like that, it helps us make this type of content that yous are enjoying now. So let's get back to the video. So here we are at my set. We've got both of the blades here and we are ready to get started with this project. First up, we have the one that we're actually going to be turning into the falchion, and then I have a second practice blade here just to practice things like the fuller and the grinding, things like that. So I thought we'd get into some measurements of this particular blade just for you guys at home. So we have a blade width of 1.8 millimeters at the base, and then when we get to the top, because this one does have a distal taper, we get to about 1.1. In terms of overall length, we're looking at about 31 inches with a blade length of about 26. So we've got a 5.5 inch handle here. Now, if you see me handling the blades on the hands throughout the video, don't worry, they are completely blunt. There's a bevel on them, but there's no edge. So they are just, there's nothing here. These are just like holding flat bars of steel. So the plans for this project is we're going to drill out these rivets, take off this handle, see what we're dealing with in terms of the tang. Then we can take it from there, how we want to attach things like the cross guard and pommel and get all the handle done. After that, we're going to start working on our bevels. We'll regrind all of this. Then we'll hopefully we can add in a fuller and then clean up everything else, get all our grinds looking nice, get all our sanding so the blade quality is nice. Then we'll be at a point where we're starting to finish off the project. Let's get started.
Segue! Sorry for interrupting. I genuinely hope you're enjoying today's build video, and if you are, did you know that I have my own personal YouTube channel? Yeah, you can head over there and subscribe for this sort of content, and I get up to other random stuff from time to time. There'll be links down below somewhere. I hope I'll see you there. But that's enough from me. Let's get back to the main video.
Alright, it's been a while since we have been back here. A lot has happened. The falchion is almost done. So I wanted to go over some of the things that has happened and where the project is at the moment. So the falchion is looking very, very nice. The blade reprofiling at the tip came out beautifully. It looks very, very nice. I hope I can get that on camera for you guys. All that's left is to attach the scales, pommel, crossguard. These need to be stained, and then everything needs to be pinned. But apart from that, it's almost done. I am very happy with how it came out so far. It looks fantastic. Sorry, this is a bit loose. The weight on this and the weight distribution is fantastic. It currently comes in, I think it's around 800 and something grams without the scales. And then with the scales and the pins, we're looking at about just under a kilo, which is exactly what Shad wanted. We had spoken about this. I asked him, what weight did he want me to aim for? And he said about a kilo. So
all of the weight is basically concentrated here, so it is very well balanced. The blade basically feels weightless, and it's quite cool, I must admit. All that's left is I've got to do some reprofiling along this edge here, because the original blade has this outcrop. We're actually going to reprofile this just a little bit so the blade sits a little bit more centered. Then we just need to attach things like the scales, pin everything together, and then it's just finishing work from then on out. Then we can take it to Shad and get his reaction, because he hasn't seen or held this thing at all. So I'm quite interested to see what he thinks of it.
Time has passed, as probably evident by the beginning of this video, my hair would have been a certain length.
I had a whole nother costume on.
At the end of this video, we are here. You have been working on that project and have results, which I have not seen yet.
You have not seen any of it. Now, there are some things, because we've obviously spoken about what you wanted and all those different things. There's two main things that are not what you wanted, but there are reasons, which we'll get into. And then there's one thing we can discuss about. Are you ready to see?
I am ready to see.
Okay, close your eyes, close your eyes.
Okay, he wants me to close my eyes. My eyes are closed. Am I holding out my hands?
Yeah. Ready? You may open them.
Ooh. Tyrant, this is gorgeous. This is unironically gorgeous, man. Look at this! Look at this falchion, man!
So I brought the scales out here because Shad wanted it under a kilo.
Oh.
And I'm not gonna lie, I think I nailed the weight on this. It's beautiful.
All right. We shall do the official weigh-in. Look at that. This is
938 grams.
0.93 of a kilo. And this, I need to come over here, right? This, man. This feels amazing.
It actually does.
This is what a falchion is meant to feel like, man. This is gorgeous.
So, now, this is for the most part completed. There are some things we can still do to it if you want, but I'm going to talk about the two, I guess, things that you didn't want, but I had to do anyway. This wrap. You didn't want a cord wrap. I wasn't originally going to do this sort of cord wrap, but I actually ran out of wood. The wood that I had. I ran out, it was a special wood, so I just had to use what I had left.
That's a much nicer cord wrap that I had in my head of what would, and so that's actually really nice.
The second thing is this transition down here. One side, it's a little bit thicker. I wanted the transition to be a bit more nicer. This was something I only noticed after I put the cord wrap on because I wasn't able to see that.
It still has the maker's mark of the original thing there. Can't do much about that. Maybe we'll see, but right now for now.
Now, the pommel.
I'm preempting what you're going to say. It's not perfectly centered. Is that what you're going to be commenting on?
Kind of. That is because the tang is kind of a bit offset.
I'm going to mention why this doesn't bother me in a sec.
The pommel itself is the weakest point of this sword. Now, I have no problems with like this or this. Now, I should preface this by saying I don't usually do the normal things people are supposed to do with swords.
We abuse them.
Yeah. So the pommel here is the weakest point, and it only has one pin. I'm not sure how far it goes in. Like it goes through the tang, but not how much meat we've got left.
Yes.
So this, I'm hoping we can put another tiny pin in, like a really, really tiny one. That's later stuff. For cut tests, it'll be fine. Water bottles, fine. But if we would do like a wood test, I'd be a little bit apprehensive.
I need to hold this more. I mentioned how the pommel isn't perfectly in line with the thing, right? There's been a more recent conversation about the quality of medieval swords.
I wasn't there for that one.
And part of the thing about medieval swords is that the precision of the fittings for a lot of like if you look at the surviving examples in the museums, they are not precise. Their main priority was functionality, and only the highest end swords were closer to precise. They're examples of them, but a lot of them were just good enough is good enough. And this is why I love this, because it's actually quite a representative piece of what a medieval falchion would actually look like, because these kind of imperfections actually feel more real for me.
Now, something else to mention, I'm not worried about the pommel in a functional sense because of how the scales are attached, how the crossguard's attached. Even if the pommel fell off, you could still wield this as a proper sword. You'd be no worries.
It feels so good in the hand.
The other thing that I was going to mention that you specifically asked for, which I didn't do because of time, was you wanted a bit more of a sloping transition.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it got to this thickness, it was the right weight, and I'm like, okay, I just don't have time for this. I've reprofiled the blade a little bit here, so I made it a little bit more centered, like you asked. I've also reprofiled that tip. Now, we actually have a blade to compare it to.
We do.
You bought 2 of these.
I did. I didn't know I had 2, but turns out we had 2. So you can see the reprofiling here.
Yeah. This is the identical blade. You guys would have saw it at the start of the video. These are the exact same thing. So technically we can make 2 of them.
I'm tempted, so you can see that, you know, we've profiled down here. There's a bit more of a point up top. And if we were going to go even further, this would be more difficult. We would put a gradual bevel on the whole length. That's difficult to do. That's a lot of, but not. And by the way, not all swords had that level of profiling.
The issue I came into with that, because I was going to do it originally, was my belt sander was just taking off too much, and it was starting to. I just got to the point where it's like, okay, this is going to take too long.
And I'm almost reluctant to, because the weight is so perfect on this. Removing more material from the blade would actually make it a worse sword, because you want a certain amount of weight here. And this blade, as we mentioned in the beginning, was remarkable because it already had a distal taper. It basically was a sword blade with just not as precise refinement, but not all medieval swords had that precise refinement. And the weight that we have now for this, the length, and just, this is gorgeous. I love this.
I don't usually, because I usually like, I'm a katana guy. I like swords that have, you know, a bit more weight up in the meat. However, this is weighted very nicely.
Doesn't it feel nice?
It does. When you feel that the blade almost feels completely weightless when you use it.
Comparing this to one I bought, it's like night and day. Like it's shocking. Let's weigh this again, just to get a weigh in of this. So this is a shorter blade, right?
Over a kilo.
So it's over a kilo. It's what's bizarre, right? It's actually not too much heavier, but it's so top heavy. They're not that different in weight, but this feels so much worse and heavy, where this has the distribution that makes it a sword, like a sword, man. This is just...
We also have some more examples here. We have this. You know, the day you bought this and brought this in, I was very fatigued from what we had done the day before, so my sword arm was not good. Now that I'm rested, this thing is a monster. I am really digging this.
You're digging it, all. This is a interesting beast, and we're doing a dedicated video on this one right here to talk about the mystery of the two-handed falchion.
Is it really? It's more like a katana.
Well, how dare you. But to do that video, I did want a more historically accurate falchion, one-handed falchion, as the baseline, because falchions, the surviving examples, one-handed, and when people think of falchion more stereotypically as one-handed, and having this as the reference for a one-handed falchion just felt like an insult.
But we've got this one out. Why have we got this one out? This is one of my favorite swords in the armory. It's a little low profile. A lot of people don't appreciate it, but I love it. I'm always playing with it. Why have we got this one out?
As another example of a falchion blade, basically. Like you could take that blade, put it on this falchion. And we usually use it as kind of the falchion sword example, but the hilt is wrong. It's a cutlass as a result. But falchion blades absolutely came like this. And what's great about this is, and we mentioned at the beginning, I think we did mention in the beginning, or it's another video.
We did.
It's thin and has the right profile, and it's a sword blade. But now we have this to compare it against. Oh, you've outdone yourself, Tyron.
Are you happy with it?
This is gorgeous. I'm in love with this. This is such a... And like, look at the flex on this. This is what a falchion blade is meant to be like, right?
There are some things we should add about the blade. The heat treat on it, because it's a cheap blade, it's not 100%. There was some things that Shad wanted me to do, but I was very hesitant to do that to the blade because it would probably destroy it. It's perfectly functional, but it's nothing high quality.
Well, when you say heat treat, right? By the fact that I can do this with it, it's in the top end of what medieval swords would actually be like in terms of the heat treat. And when, you know, Oh boy, put a really, really keen edge on this. This is going to slash. And because we absolutely needed to see how this beast would go with a sharper edge, Tyrant put it on the grinding stone and then put it to the test.
Well, I think it's sharp enough now to do some test cuts, so let's see if we can get through this pool noodle now. This thing is awesome.
Machete blades are meant to be robust. This was just a really unique one that had a distal taper. So this, I feel confident to like really do some stuff with it.
It's just the pommel. Now, I did say there's still some stuff we can actually do to this. I was hesitant to put any sort of like, you know, inlays or patterns or anything like that on the crossguard because I didn't know if you would like them or not. If you didn't like them, then you're basically ruining the sword. So we can actually put some nice, you know, little grooves in, things like that to make it look a little bit higher quality if you wanted. That's like we can do that now. I just wanted to check with you for that.
I think the next thing that we want is a sheath or scabbard for this. Because now that you want to wear it.
Do you want a leather one like this? That's super easy.
Maybe. Oh man, like genuinely, I'm over the moon about this. What's frustrating though is confirmation. Like, you can't buy a falchion like this. Oh, I haven't found one unless it's a custom piece. This is what, and it shouldn't be too like sword manufacturers, right? Cold Steel, United Cutlery Shop. Grab one of your machete blades, right? Put more of a point on it, and put like I would have bought them, but I'm just in love. Like, I don't know. It feels even more special that you made this, and.
Well, you're welcome, Joe. You're welcome.
Because this is a custom piece now, and it just feels so good. It's great.
Well, I think that's everything for today's video. We got a full build video.
We have a real falchion then.
Yeah, we do.
We have a real falchion.
I still like this one though. I've actually fallen in love with it.
You already, yeah?
Well, it's like the Kriegsmesser, but it doesn't hurt my hand when I swing it.
Well, that's the thing, the mystery of the two-handed falchions, because there is a mystery behind them. We'll do a dedicated video on that. But if you want actually deeper information on the difference between a falchion blade and a machete blade, we have a video I've made. Like, we'll put it right here. See, you can click on it right now. Check out that video to really understand the important differences, the subtle differences between a machete and falchion. Hope to see you there. And until then, farewell.